Lots of different political figures keep on repeating that there's a discrepancy or a disconnect. We just talked about connecting and that kind of solidarity between publics, but there's a disconnect between the kind of felt impacts of climate change and political will and political action. Incredibly sobering. And I'm looking at those maps, it just really calls to mind something that somebody keeps on saying, which is it's cheaper now to save the world than it is to destroy it. Surely looking at those maps of cities, that the penny has to drop in capitals around the world, but particularly in the G20. Your Minister for Climate Change, Hassan Chowdhury, Bangladesh's Minister for Climate Change, gave a really remarkable presentation at the Mountain Experts Dialogue that the government of Nepal held. And he said something really memorable, which is, firstly, we don't want development aid. It was interesting to frame it in that way. We actually want G20 economies to cut your emissions. This is the most significant contribution that G20 economies can play in terms of these societies in Asia right now. And he also said, look, publics actually have to force your politicians to act. Without that public power, without that public push, then emissions reductions will not be made at the pace that they are required. Those that are beaming in from this region, you know, you'll be very much aware that Asia tops the worst pollution kind of zones annually, repeatedly, and there is a huge link between that and the acceleration of glacier melt, black carbon settling on the glaciers. We know that air pollution also wipes out up to 10 years, and sometimes above that, off the average life of people in Lahore, in Delhi, in Dhaka, in Kathmandu. So, you know, ensuring that local and regional governments also focus on mitigation action around air pollution is key. I hope what we've seen within all these presentations is that there's still everything worth fighting for, you know, on very low emissions pathways, as James showed. It's possible to save half of the glaciers. And what can you do? Raising your voice at this moment is really, really mission critical. Using your talents, if you're a filmmaker, if you're an athlete, vote. Trying to reshape the organizations where you work to ensure that they are accelerating the energy transitions themselves. There's an amazing activist in the US. He says something quite amazing, which is that nothing that we do at this stage will prevent suffering. But if we do all we can, there will be less suffering. And so that is the difficult calculus with which we find ourselves at this moment on the clock of the world.